What's happening, everyone? Before this next leg of podcast show starts, this is a reminder to you not to be a minge bag. Go over to Patreon, sign up for £1 a week and take advantage of all the Patreon perks. It is the Patreon that pays. We have a betting show on a Saturday, which the postman here is picking winners every single week.
Yeah, the betting show comes out Saturday mornings, covers UFC and boxing, footy when we're in the footy season. But yeah, we're winning on a weekly basis. I can't remember the last week we didn't find some sort of winner. So yeah, as Andy says, don't be a minge bag, come and get involved. And as I say, it's one of the best communities that you could be a part of, isn't it?
It's a belter. As well as the betting show on a Wednesday, me and Jord have a chat. That's where you might have seen on our Insta Reels about crocs, about harpooning people at the end of the night, all that kind of chat that goes on. And even better, every single Wednesday we do a raffle draw, and our sponsors Montrex give £100 gift voucher away just for being on Patreon. No better time to join. There's 30 plus episodes already that you can go back and watch. Again, no better time. Get involved. Don't be a minge bag. £1 a week, and we'll see you there. What's happening, everyone? It's the Sportscast. It's me, Andy Grant.
It's me, Jordan Neal.
So we are on StreamYard today. I'm almost glad because Jordan sounds like he's got the lurgy again. So I'm glad I'm not in the same room as him.
No, we couldn't. Someone special like you going to Vegas tomorrow. Couldn't.
You had daddy duties this morning, to be fair.
Well, actually, let's not get into this. We were recording at 12, and then you were like, "Oh no, I've got this thing called a prosthetic leg that needs attention." It's just because you're a doctor now. I understand it.
For those who are not on Patreon,
This and that.
I told the world on our Wednesday show that I am now Dr. Andy Grant. I've been honoured by Liverpool University, so no longer am I Andy Grant. I'm Dr. Andy Grant. And
Everyone giving you praise on Instagram. Well done, Doc. Well done, Doc.
Yeah, but the Doc needs to get his leg fixed today by an actual doctor. So yeah, we couldn't record in the studio because I had a prosthetics appointment at 1 o'clock. So here we are on stream.
And you are going to Vegas tomorrow. Like you can't be risking no illnesses. Like
no, but it's good to see your face anyway, George. First off, well, massive shout out to all our Patreon legends for not only not being a minge bag and supporting the show, but we did our first Christmas leg at night out on Saturday. And I think all in all, probably caught up about 50 people, do you reckon, on the Saturday?
Yeah, gotta have been. There was loads of people like all throughout the day. You know, a couple that were there for the long haul, and then a couple that had a few little sharpeners, and then was like, yeah, we want to be involved now. So we, it was boss, mate. What a day. I can't wait for the next one already. I know people on Patreon already asking when the next one is. Do you know what I think we should do? Do you know the finale of the sports series? I think we should do it live.
Good shout, lad.
I think we should do it live with an audience.
That's a great shout, yeah.
And then wherever, I don't know, the loser has to buy a big old round or something.
Oof. Okay, yeah, okay.
I think that's a great idea.
Get that going for the new year then, yeah.
Thought of that in the shower today.
Why are you thinking about me in the shower, lad?
You know what it is? I have to spend enough time with you.
You know, on that one as well, we always give you shit about being a minge bag if you're not on Patreon. We actually had 2 Patreons come over to us and tell us about their mate who is not on Patreon, but had won 300 quid off Jordan's tips.
Joke.
So we guilted them into signing up for Patreon there and then.
Poor lad had lost every nation that he's given more dough away.
Yeah, but anyway, no, massive shout out to all our Patreons for making the day what it was. Also our sponsors, Montrex Fair Clothing and Health Kit Kitchen, and also German Farmer. As you know, all the links are in the bio with all your discount codes all there, so go and check them out. I don't feel like there's an awful lot. The World Cup's kind of dwindling down a bit. It's back to this. Today was Wednesday when we're recording. This was the first day that there was not a football match on, which I can't say wasn't that bothered about, to be honest.
No, not for someone who was saying they were going to be all over it and watching every game every day. But I'm not being funny, and let's cut straight to the chase. Morocco beating Spain is a mad result, mate. I
mean, it wasn't great for my bank balance, I'll be honest. I thought the Spain-Portugal double was the fucking banker of the century. Clearly not.
I don't know. It's just they've just stubborn, aren't they, Morocco? I don't know. They've got. It's things like that when you don't follow international football, like we've said. When you actually sit down and look at Morocco's team, the right back starts pretty much every week for PSG. They got Ziyech on the left wing. They got that Amrabat in midfield who Liverpool are after. You just hear of these countries and just completely write them off. Do you know what I mean? And it's I think that's what, definitely a couple of teams in the tournament did. But, as someone who enjoyed the funner side of football, that penalty is just that's porn, that. Mate, it's the biggest moment in probably sport and history for his country. Against Spain, and he chips it down the middle. He doesn't do. You see a couple of little what they call panenkas now, where they're little bit black, like they hit it with the side of the foot and then go, oh yeah, I chipped it. Mate, he actually rolled it in, and then done a little penguin dance.
Yeah, no, I'm not seeing them at all. Again, not being into them at all. Obviously, just seeing that Spain went out and couldn't quite believe it. And I seen that Spain missed the 3 penalties. Did you see that mad stat as well? Spain haven't won a knockout game since they won it. Italy haven't won a knockout game since they won it. I think in Germany haven't won a knockout game since they won it.
Takes a lot, mate. World Cup hangovers.
I think that is the stat. Let me just double check this. So
they said they practiced 1,100 penalties in the build-up, and then they missed every one of them.
So they haven't won a knockout game since the 2006 final. Spain haven't won a knockout game since the 2010 final. Germany haven't won a knockout game since the 2014 final.
Mad. Crazy, isn't it?
As someone who is a staunch supporter of anyone England playing,
yeah,
are you finally going to kind of say England could have a chance now without that? Spain have got out as well.
No, if you go back, I said this was the point where they go out, and it is the point where they go out. Okay. Mbappe will have an absolute field day. Probably score 2, maybe 3. Everyone will be like, England were never that good anyway. We were all saying they were the new golden generation, but they're all crap. They get booed off the plane, and then they give it a few months, and then they go, we're going to win the Euros. They're just, England fans, I know they'll be watching this, they just bottle it all the time.
I mean,
they will again.
I'm going to be a bit controversial to you, and I actually think England might go through.
No way. Not good enough, lad.
And I'm gutted that I didn't do what I said I was going to do a year ago and put a $5 down England to win.
Lad, honestly, don't be. They're going nowhere near that trophy. Look at the actual games England have won. They've not played anyone.
I don't know. I've just got a weird feeling. So you know what my little... Yeah, listen, hang on, hear me out. This makes no sense in an actual reality sporting sense, but just hear me out. Things happen weirdly, in the world, you know what I mean? It's like a weird world we live in with sport. And if you had said that a woman was going to win the Grand National, but it's going to be in a time when there's no one there to watch them because of COVID. If you're going to say that Liverpool would end their 30-year wait for a league title, it's going to be when no fans are in the stadium. And if it's going to be a time when England are going to be the World Cup, it's going to be a World Cup that's going to be frowned upon. That should never have happened. That's surrounded in controversy. That'll be the time when England win it. And that theory is why I think England might win it.
But I'll counteract you now. How many Moroccan podcasts are going, strange things happen, fellas. Strange things happen. We're going all the way.
Correct, okay.
I understand it, but it's a fallacy in it. It's like, you don't... I know, the fate is a thing. I completely concede that. But now you're at the business end of the tournament and you're looking at teams who, this is England's first real game. I don't care what anyone says. People have said to me, oh, we beat Iran, Senegal and Wales. But loads of other teams have slipped up against crap teams. That's sound, no problem. But you can't have credit for not slipping up against crap teams. That's like getting to the quarterfinal of the FA Cup and going, well, shit. And then us going out in Liverpool and going, but Chelsea went out in the third round.
No,
you can't get credit for winning games you should win.
Yeah, but you have got to give them credit, George, if they do beat France.
Yeah, I will. I'll say well done. You'll go out in the next round. But no, if they beat France, I will give them credit. But when you look at the game, I know I haven't really listened to the build-up, but when you look at, I've seen a clip of Ferdinand on Twitter where he's going, the only player that had played for England is Mbappe. Like, shut up. Like, you're an idiot. Because it's just not true.
Again, lad, go on.
Right. If Saka was French, would they be raving about him and throwing him left wing over Dembele as French nationals?
No, but I'd have Mbappe, Kane, and Foden.
Kane's better. Kane is better than Giroud. I will concede that, no problem. But then you look at players that we don't watch every week, who are like top players, like Rabiot and stuff. just because we don't see them every week, we go, oh, well, Declan Rice is better than him. Declan Rice has not played a single Champions League game. This is a fellow who's been playing at the top level for like 10 years.
Talking of Declan Rice, he's ill. So there's a doubt about him that who's the Man City lad might come in.
He's about to get Calvin Phillips.
Who I don't rate at all, by the way, but yeah.
No, it's been good to see, excuse me, it's been good to see Henderson getting a bit of credit. You know, I'm quite honest with Henderson. There is times for me when, you know, what he brings is not really needed in certain games and certain situations. But in a team that, you know, is perennially quite soft, I think someone like him is, you know, a godsend, because no matter what you think about his ability or whatever, you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
You know, there's not going to be no poor performance. Yes, he might give a few balls away and stuff and that, but it's all made up in what he brings elsewhere. You know, I don't buy into the fact that he's a world beater, you know that, but it's like in certain, you know, tournament football, especially why he's been so integral to Liverpool, is people like him. You know, you ask anyone who's played at any sort of level, I'm sure they'd say, like, yeah, you need players in the trenches with you like that who are going to be running until the last second. You know what I mean?
I think the problem with Henderson, that he's got both at club and international football, is he reminds me a bit. I don't mean the same type of player, but he reminds me of the same predicament that someone like Makelele for Chelsea had. You know, kind of to a football fan who doesn't really, you know, I don't want to insult anyone, but it's a bit of a fair weather football fan. Looks like he does fuck all.
Yeah.
But you speak to any manager who's worked, you know, with Henderson, he's the first one on the team sheet. So he's obviously doing something that, you know, whether it's the energy, whether it's his leadership, whether it's off the ball, whether it's his pressing, whatever it may be, I'm a fan of him, and I think, you know, he does it well. So I was pleased, like you say, to see him get praised. Because I did think he played great against Senegal.
He's not far off. You know, I know Bellingham probably is the first name on the sheet at the minute, but I think anyway, I know this is quite a funny story knocking about, but like from an actual playing point of view, anywhere Bellingham goes, you know, Henderson's not far away, and you can see the confidence that it breeds into Bellingham, knowing that he's got someone next to him who, you know, will bail him out of a bit of shit if he does do naive stuff, or he does, you know, get off on one of his mazy runs, which are incredible. But they're okay being incredible, but if you lose the ball, you know, you need somebody there.
What are you? Did your heart start racing a bit when you start seeing on Instagram and you see on Twitter, and then you see them score and link up, and then a bit of a romance celebration? I mean, did you start getting excited? Because I know I did.
Yeah, I did. You know, it's not that. It's like it's not even the celebrations and nothing. It's like the subtle little things Bellingham says and stuff like that, and you're like, is it going to happen? But on one side, I'm thinking if it happens, it's an absolute game changer for this Liverpool squad, because I think he is that good, genuinely do. But if it doesn't happen and he just, you know, on, I don't know, whatever it might be, July the 21st, he's just like that with a City shirt, I'll just be crying my eyes off. Because I've bought in now, I'm in.
Do you know what I will compare it to? It'd be like me firing into the DMs of Laura Woods after she's followed me. Like, she's followed me and I'm thinking, I've got a chance. And then I
150 mil.
And then it just gets seen. It'll be a bit like that if we don't get him in the end. You know what I mean?
I think. Do you know what? I think we're in the race somehow, some way. I don't know how we are, but I think we are.
I think genuinely, mate, I get him. So I've been informed that he was in Paris for the Champions League final as a fan.
Someone I seen that elsewhere, but wasn't he in Zidane's box?
I don't know.
Fucking hope that's not happening. You can stay away from Madrid.
No, I think he was there just as a fan, you know, but I didn't know which box there.
Someone said the same today, but then someone put a picture up of him in a box, and it was like it was Zidane's box or something. But yeah, you can stay away from them. But I don't know. I think he's got a lot of Liverpool vibes.
I was a big Liverpool fan as well.
Yeah,
I was a big fan. So
I think he just suits everything we want to do.
Yeah, I also think as well that you know, he's 19. You could tell, but from his interviews, he hasn't got a crazy huge ego. And I think, you know, if you're 19 and you're playing at Dortmund in the Champions League, you're captain. You don't need to make all your money right now. Do you know what I mean? You don't need to make. He's clearly, I'm hoping, switched on enough to go, I don't need to make crazy wage demands of 400 grand a week. You know, if they put me on 100, 150, I'll be happy with that. Do you know what I mean? I don't want him to. I don't want Liverpool to be priced out because of his crazy wage demands. And you know,
when does it get to a point where someone just gives some stupid things though, like, you know, Madrid will, like, you know, roll the red carpet out for him? I know they're not the Madrid of old, but it'd be hard to turn away from that, you know. Like,
my argument
as a 19-year-old, like,
it's easy for me to sit here and bootle and say this, but if I knew that he's probably already a millionaire. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If not now, he's going to be very soon. And I just like him to have the confidence of go, you know what? I don't need to go to the club who's paying me the most money right now. I want to go to the club who's fits me, and hopefully Klopp can basically say, yeah, look, it's us. And I tell you what, if he does, mate, it'd be fucking exciting.
The only thing that I think is in our favour as well is because there's an actual conveyor belt to him becoming the main man at Liverpool. You know, Henderson, he's not coming to the end of his career, I'm not saying that, but he's edging in his 30s. There's players like Thiago there who he's going to learn off. I mean, like people in his position that he's going to learn off. You know, he'd probably take the number 8 shirt when Keita gets bombed. And it would almost be like the Henderson Gerrard thing. Do you know what I mean? It would be, you know, under me wing. I'm not grooming's the wrong word, but you know, I'm prepping you to be the next Liverpool captain. This is how you handle yourself. This is how you handle certain situations. This is how you talk in the media. This is how you lead a dressing room and stuff like that. And I actually do think, in a world of idiotic footballers, I do think he's got his head screwed on.
Yeah.
Just by the way he talks, you know, he articulates really well. There's no like, you know, I love some of the things Grealish comes out with. Like, he does actually genuinely make me laugh, but there's no doubt about Jude Bellingham for me. There's no like, he's going to go off the rails. He's a bit of a lunatic. He could get done for drinking or something like that. I think he's I think he's been prepped to be a world class footballer for a long time, and I think, you know, he's now making good on that.
On the other kind of crazy transfer rumours of this World Cup, Ronaldo was kind of 1 minute he's going to Saudi Arabia for £200 million a week. I seen a report today saying that he wants to stay in a Champions League club, but none of the clubs who are basically going to win the Champions League want him, which is interesting. So I think, again, we spoke about it months ago. He's in such a, you know, precarious position where his ego is telling him that he either wants X amount of money or he wants to be the star of the show. But the sad reality is, what basically Wayne Rooney came out and said is, you get old and things don't start going away. So I'm just as excited and intrigued to see what the fuck happens with him, because it's like, he's obviously got one eye on Messi, rip up the Champions League, you know, rolling back the years now with Argentina. He's definitely thinking, I need to start thinking quick where I'm going to end up my career, because otherwise, what happens?
At what point does he admit he's not the player he was, though?
I don't think he ever will.
Because Messi clearly isn't the player he was, but he's still fucking very good. Ronaldo, and I'm not going for, I'm genuinely not trying to, you know, get people to go, George, you're an idiot. Lad, there's the top 20 clubs in the league, in the world, across all the major leagues, so to say. He doesn't get in any one of them. He doesn't play for any of them. He got dropped for Man United when he was struggling. He's now being dropped at Portugal. You know, at what point does he admit that it's him? He's no longer good enough.
He had another strop on the bench and all that.
But he said today, you know, seen a report. I know you can't believe all these reports, but like that, he insisted on doing a recovery session with the starting 11 rather than doing a training session with the lads that didn't play much. Like, I don't care how good you've been. You're part of a team that's about to be in the latter stages of the World Cup. Have something to buy it. Do you know what I mean?
He's just not setting a good example either, I think. And there's a lot of managers who will be trying, you know, build a team thinking, nah, not happening.
No. I mean, but you know, when you've been away from your family for that long and like you are on the edge of doing something historic, I know we were joking about England, but you know, they're now all on the edge of achieving something that very, very few people in the world will ever achieve. At what point did the likes of Fernandes and them just go, like, what the fuck are you doing? You're fucking it up for us all.
Yeah, I know.
There's like, I don't know, 100 cameras taking a picture of him on the bench. I think, you know, it's bubbling under the surface there, and it really could come to the fore.
What I think's really interesting, and you talk about some of the legends in the game, you know, like Ronaldo, Messi, but these are names that aren't in that same category as they're in their own category. But I thought it's really interesting and just kind of shows, you know, the levels what Liverpool have been at. So if Holland win, Van Dijk could become the so basically no player has ever won the World Cup, Champions League, Premier League, FA Cup and League Cup. Whereas if Holland wins it, Van Dijk will become that player. If Brazil win it, Alisson and Fabinho will become them players. And if England win it, Trent and Hendo will. So it just shows
Trent can't count himself, can he? The old chief water carrier like him and Cody.
I know, yeah. But, I mean, it just shows you the levels that, you know, those players, especially with Liverpool and maybe the national sides have gone, which is...
How would you feel if you were like Trent, genuinely, like, as a person? If you are, you know, starting every week for Liverpool, I know there's holes in his game, I appreciate that, but there's also holes in the game of Trippier and Kyle Walker that have been exposed over many years. If you're there and you're barely playing a minute, how do you feel about the whole thing? Would you feel like, you know, I'm about to win the World Cup, or would you feel like spare part thing?
Spare part, I'd feel.
I think natural human. I know we've just said about Ronaldo, you know, being a team player, but I think there's ways of being respectful about it, isn't he? You know, I'm sure Trent's not going to start kicking up a fuss and going, why aren't I playing? I'm doing a session with the lads starting. But I think if England were to win it, when he got his medal, I don't know whether he'd feel the same way he did in Madrid, for example.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's a natural thing. I mean, no doubt he can take from it the fact that he's pushing, you know, Walker and Trippier and all the way. And the only reason they maybe perform at those levels because Trent's, you know, breathing down the neck. So take something from that. But I just think the reality is he'd feel that he hasn't contributed.
No. It was an interesting little convo with him and Beckham, though. See that?
No.
So Beckham visited the someone put in a WhatsApp with him in. Beckham visited the I don't know, the training base. Yeah, and him and Trent were having a conversation, and you know, they obviously pick it up, and he was just like, mate, like talking to him about like routine and repetition with your dead balls and that, and saying, you know, you can really cross a ball. This is what I used to do, just stuff like that. And I could see Trent like, fucking hell, this is fucking brilliant. You know what I mean?
Really, yeah.
No matter what you say about Beckham, mate, he could hit a dead ball.
Oh, the best. I think he was the best.
But Trent says to him, did you have a preferred side? And he was like, nah, not really. He said, I can do it that way. Or he was like, there was one at Anfield when I was over here and I put it right over the other side. And I was like, you fucking bellend.
Did you see Samuel Eto'o swinging bombs?
Yeah, flying knee, Masvidal.
Yeah.
Get that stitched, eat that.
He weren't happy, was he, Eto'o, there?
No.
So do you know the story about that? It was over Albania. So Cameroon and Albania, basically, I think there's some conspiracy where basically Eto'o apparently cheated or something and fucked over Albania or something. And, not Albania, Algeria. And the Algerians fucking hate Eto'o in Cameroon, apparently.
Really, yeah?
He reckons it was an Algerian fan who come up to him. And,
Paddy threw that flying knee, you know?
Yeah, he's not happy, was he? So he's come out and he's basically said, basically, I'm sorry that I attacked this probable Algeria fan. And he just goes in and says, look, you know, I have to deal with this all the time. I should have reacted better. But I thought that was interesting because he got split up and it was one of those like drunken kebab shop fights where he
all be phone, look.
And, you know, he didn't stop, did he, till he got him.
It's all like that, you know, should have reacted better, but pick your chin up off the floor, mate.
Yeah.
Samuel Eto'o will be on fucking Misfits boxing soon. Him and KSI.
I've seen Pele's been hospitalised, hasn't he?
I've seen that, yeah.
He's improving, but he's still in hospital at the moment.
How old's he now?
Is he 80 odd, is he?
And he's a serious innings Pele, mate.
Yeah.
He was playing back in the day.
82 he is.
Fair play. Fair enough age, 82, I reckon.
Yeah, I mean, he's done well, hasn't he?
Probably still starting league too. Little fox in the box, Pele.
Yeah. Anything else on the old foosball?
No, lad, just absolutely cannot wait for Boxing Day.
The 22nd, I think Liverpool play Man City the 22nd, I think.
Yeah, but no one's going to play in that, are they? Like,
that's the League Cup, actually, isn't it?
Do you know if Henderson that go out on Saturday, how long off did he get?
I think they might just ship them straight to Dubai.
It's hard work, that, lad, you know. I know the players are training out there, like, but it's hard work, that.
Well, I just don't think, what would they do, go home and for what?
I know, I get that, but like to play in a World Cup and then go right on the plane to Dubai, get in the training session with the lads, got a fucking Carabao Cup game next week. I know we've had this conversation loads of times, but people who go, I'd fucking do it for $100 a week, you physically couldn't. So stop chatting shit. It's fucking hard.
But they've got the families out there, so it's not even an excuse if they need to go home and see the families because they
no. But physically, that's difficult, you know.
Yeah.
Because you put in everything, don't you? You know, I'm not an England fan, but they are. They're cards into that game.
Yeah.
Like to go. Oh, we went out, and then you know by you know the game's on Sunday, is it Saturday? You know, by Monday they've got a game to focus on with Liverpool. You can't do it, lad. But you know, modern footy, they are expected to do crazy things, aren't they?
The only other sad thing I say on the footy was my thoughts were Sterling. Bit shit that his house got done over.
Lad, imagine that. armed robbers, kids and your missus.
Yeah, I don't think they were in the house though, were they?
No, I think they just nicked some stuff, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Do you know what though? Like, I've give Sterling stick, me, like as a Liverpool fan. I've shouted things, just, I'm not racist or nothing, but like called them, money grabber and all this stuff. That's like stuff of nightmares. That. Imagine that phone call.
I don't think there's anything worse than a house robber, honestly.
No, lad, the lowest of the low. Going in to try and take someone's stuff because you can't earn it yourself.
Kiddie fiddlers and house robbers, mate.
You're a scumbag. But I did find myself thinking, like, when he's in, Qatar or whatever it may be, where they are training, whether it's on the outskirts or whatever, he was like, imagine getting that phone call, probably his missus crying, whatever. Awful.
Mate, moving on to tennis, there's not crazy amounts of sport. One thing that I thought was interesting was the Lawn Tennis Association has been fined 820 grand by the ATP for its ban on Russian and Belarusian athletes from grass court tournaments this summer.
Good.
So they basically just got a telling off and said you shouldn't have banned them. And
I mean, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? But it was always, I think we were saying at the time, it's an incredibly naive decision, like to tar everyone with the same brush, because if we were to look at everything that happens, socially, economically, politically, in every country, England wouldn't be playing in the World Cup. I'll tell you that.
Oh no!
Like, so, to some of them players, obviously.
Imagine if there was an international, tennis tournament in America, and they said Emma Raducanu is not playing because the Royal Highness Prince Andrew is a nonce. So
exactly. You'd have Piers Morgan and all that going mad, wouldn't you? But when it's these fellas, it's like, oh yeah, fuck them. Stupid. It's lack of earnings. It's almost character defamation, because you're implying that they're a part of it, and they could just be completely innocent.
Be interesting where that 820 grand goes. Will it go to support Russian athletes or not?
I reckon about 20 grand will go to some charity, and then some fat cat will just have a little 800 bags for the UFC Saturday. That's straight in the 365.
Yeah, be going into fucking Putin's 365.
Yeah, Putin like that till KO.
Yeah. Should we go boxing and UFC, because we got a pretty.
We're gonna have to finish on. Yeah, we're gonna have to finish on UFC Army. It's a fucking big weekend for Scouse fighters.
I've seen Froch got inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame.
Yeah, IBF Hall of Fame on it, which the belt that he held. Do you know what, mate? Like, Froch is an absolute down the middle type of guy. Like, people love him or hate him. Always have. I think he plays a role a little bit, which you have to do sometimes.
He defo says that kind of knocked that's his thing now, isn't it?
Because it's like, you can see it in his face. He's just got a dry sense of humour that not a lot of people understand. But
yeah,
you know what I mean? For what he did in his career, mate, but boxing, when Carl Froch was coming up, he was in the dark ages of like Sky, when, I don't even think he was on Sky until Eddie come along, but he was in a dark age where no one wanted to watch it. Pretty much like where boxing might be heading now, but he didn't, there was no big TV deals. There was no big, he wasn't getting noticed anywhere, nothing like that. It was only, what he built in terms of that George Groves fight, and, some of the absolute wars that he was in. Every time you watch the Carl Froch fight, mate, you come out of it thinking, I just got, whether it was 1999 or 3, you thought, I've just watched the fight there. Do you know what I mean? He's a beast, him. And, people like that should be recognised, whether you like them as a person or not.
I've seen as well, I don't know if we've mentioned this as well. You kind of knew this was coming for a while, but boxing's been excluded from the 2020 Olympic Games.
Gone, mate. MMA's just flirting like this.
It's crazy, that isn't it?
Yeah, I've spoken about this quite a lot, and it was always coming, mate. What they've done.
You kind of had this warned off for a while, haven't you? Saying that if this goes, it's going to have big lasting impact.
Mate, you don't. If the Olympics go, you don't have Anthony Joshua. You know what I mean? You don't have these flag bearers for the sport in the country. You don't have Lomachenko. You don't have Usyk. You don't have these fighters. I'm not saying they don't have the talent, but right now there's a conveyor belt what elite amateur athletes do. They win regionally. They win nationally. They set their eyes on the World Championships. They set their eyes on the Olympics. They win an Olympic medal. They get enough money so that they can train full time from day one. they make themselves into a beast, they become a world champion, all the money, goes from the top all the way down. That's going away because boxing is run by idiots and crooks, and they can't blame anyone else but themselves. The Olympics have wanted to get rid of boxing for a long, long time. It's one of the only sports that starts on day one and ends on the last day. It's a logistical nightmare. It's everything about it is just a nightmare for the organisers of the Olympics. And they've now done enough. They've brought enough shame on the Olympics, enough headlines that they've gone, mate, you're out, see you later. And, there's a big old spot, as I say, there's a couple of hurdles to get over, but they're definitely doing it. There's a big spot for MMA to come in and do exactly what boxing hasn't done.
I seen talking again, boxing being in the gutter, but the Conor Benn final ruling on his failed drug test expected December.
Yeah, the fight was called off in October, failed the test in August. Crimbo. It'll come out on Crimbo Day when no one's on Twitter.
Yeah, he's likely to find out by the end of the year whether he'll be reinstated to the WBC.
He's not getting a ban, Conor, I don't think.
Do you not think?
Everything that you listened to with Eddie was all, I would expect the ban, this, that. He's going to have to deal with it with them every step of the way. And now I don't know whether Conor's going to get a ban. He's definitely going to come back,
He's admitted to failing 2 drug tests, man. I mean, fucking hell.
It's awful, mate. And he'll have one eye on Chris Eubank Jr., Liam Smith. Don't worry about that. For the winner or the loser.
It's crazy, that,
But boxing, mate, I know we were out, but I conveniently backdoored it the way I do, and I did actually watch Fury versus Chisora. The worst thing I've ever watched now.
Yeah, I watched it. I was in, well, I was with you, wasn't I, in the slaughterhouse? You bailed it. And I actually watched it in there. You know what, actually, though, fair play to you, did actually say bye. You didn't actually backdoor it. You actually said goodbye to
me. Yeah, that's because you threatened me in the races. Lad, say bye. Say, I know, give you stick on the podcast, but I don't want to scrap.
Yeah.
No, you're a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu player.
Well, there you go. Yeah, no, you did. You said bye to everyone. And then, you went home and watched it. We actually watched it in the boozer. Well, I say watched it. I had an eye on it anytime, anything happened.
He was hitting hurt in round 2, 3, 4. Fury gave him a round off, I think 5. Like, literally, you could see Fury looking at him as if to go, like, that eye's closing, I'm just going to hit him in the body there. You know what I mean? And like, the ref was looking at the corner. Fury was looking at the corner from as early as round 3. It was what the damage that Derek Chisora has inflicted on himself, or, through Fury, or the people who organised that fight. I honestly think, there's going to be bad things happen to Derek Chisora in the coming years, and there's going to be a lot of people who deserve to pick up the tab, because it shouldn't have even happened, mate. It shouldn't have been legal, shouldn't have been sanctioned. It was horrible. And one of my favourite fights, Jamie Moore, Matt Macklin, Gatti Ward, where they do actually put, untold damage on each other, but it's a two-way street. That was like watching the skinny kid in year 9 getting filled in by the cock of year 11.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just punching them all over the place in the head.
Yeah.
And then, Fury goes in to see him, and after the fight, there's a clip of it, and he literally, Fury's like, how you feeling? He's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
There's nothing that he cannot. His kids are there. His kids are looking at him with busted up. It was awful, man. It proper, I know Sunday we were like having a laugh, but I was sitting on the couch on Sunday just thinking, like, I'm a part of this in one shape or another. Like, that was awful, man.
It was uncomfortable watching that Tyson Fury Chisora thing, wasn't it? I didn't like that, in
the back.
Yeah,
Lad, he doesn't know what Fury's saying. He doesn't know where he is. I see Fury introduces his lad to him, and he just like makes a grunt at him.
I know.
That's a man with permanent damage, like genuine permanent damage, and it's awful to watch because, he's been a pro since 2007. I was doing a load of reading on him last week, obviously, because I had to write an article. Like, that's a long time, mate, and it's like he was getting knocked out in like 2008, 9, or a wee bit later, 2011, whatever it was. But he should not be in a ring, and the people who organised it, when I believe whatever the inevitable will be for Derek Chisora, they should pick up the tab.
That's the thing, though. That'll be, in many years' time, it'll just be, well, you don't know whether it was that fight or and then they rode off into the sunset now with the money.
Mate, Fury, I understand he was giving his mate a payday. I genuinely do. Like, with me and you were boxers, and I was at the top level. And we were friends, and I could give you a couple of million. I'd be very, very tempted to do that, but that would be if you I don't know, you'd lost a couple of fights and you were like, lad, I'm ready to check out me. Do you know what I mean? I'm just not good enough. That he's not at that level. He's like 4 and 5 years way past what should be medically cleared, and it's awful, mate. Awful. I actually genuinely feel sad about it.
What did you make of your best mate Usyk being there and all that, and the little face?
See Fury giving him loads, and he's just devastating him.
Mm.
You don't fuck about with people like that, lad. I've been saying this for 12, 18 months. He's a Ukrainian who took all of his belts to Russia against an undefeated fighter with a 99% record, KO record, and punched the brakes off him.
Mm.
Like, you don't, like, all that stuff about, you know, you're a sausage, you need to get your teeth fixed, all this. You should just look at him like, mate, you just keep going, because I'm just going to tune you in. And he will beat him. I'm telling you right now, he will beat him.
I don't think the fight will happen. I think he'll end up going for Joyce.
Yeah. I do. I think he'll fight Joyce, because there was a part of me that thought Joyce was his hardest fight, genuinely did, but I'm at a point now where I don't know. I think, you know, Joyce is an incredible fighter. He's got an incredible gas tank chin and power. But for everything that I disagree with Tyson Fury on, he negates all them things fairly well.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? The reason I think Usyk can beat him is because the only thing Tyson Fury is better than Alexander Usyk at is being bigger than him as a natural human being.
Yeah.
He's got nothing else better than him.
I just when it comes to Fury, I've just got no confidence in any decent fight happening anymore.
No. You do a WWE thing or something. Mate, in the interview, he was like, I've got a shoulder injury, I've got to go and get an operation. And then he was like, in the next interview, February, March, mate, I'm back. Fucking make your mind up.
I think we've got more chance of fighting him in a double team, tag team kind of thing, me and you, than he has fighting against Usyk. You know, it's.
I reckon we tune him in.
Mm.
Lad, I'll just go for the top of the head, try and discombobulate him. You just wrap the legs up, lad.
No, there's little Dudley boys on him, lad.
Get the table. But yeah, he's you know, all jokes aside, it was a bad weekend for boxing. I didn't like it one bit. What's
going on this weekend in Tokyo as well? I see
Paul Butler's over there on Tuesday, fighting Inoue, who is pound for pound the biggest puncher in the entire sport. You know, I don't know whether you've seen it, but there was quite an early moment. Paul put a picture up of him in Japan or whatever, and Inoue just quote tweeted it saying "Welcome."
Really?
No, you don't fuck about with these people, man. I like Paul Butler, really. When I was like writing about boxing very early days, he gave me a load of time, Paul Butler, which I'm really grateful for. But that's an incredibly hard fight, that, like, especially over in Japan, because he's just a freak, mate. He's genuinely a freak, and he's a god in Japan as well. So it's you know, you don't just walk out to little claps. Well done, Paul. It's a rough place to go and watch him, like, because he's a god there.
What else have we got on this weekend then?
Josh Warrington returns against Lopez on an absolutely shocking card by Eddie Hearn, but the main event actually is decent. The card's awful. No, what he's doing, he's starting the card at 1:30 until like 5:30. Then they're watching the match in the arena and then starting the main card.
Oh.
That he sold no tickets. Done the old Ticketmaster thing again this week. You can sit wherever you want.
Yeah.
A bad place, mate.
Just to go back, sorry, on Tyson as well, he's still going on about he sold all these fucking tickets.
You didn't.
Anyway,
we sat there, mate, and booked tickets. The only thing we didn't do was pay.
Right, I know.
I mean, me and you've spent some money on stupid shit in our time, like, but I weren't buying them.
No.
But yeah, there's a fight over in the States as well, which is Teofimo Lopez versus Sandor Martin, which is a decent enough scrap as well. Obviously, good to see Teofimo Lopez back. So it's a competitive. It's a competitive weekend of sport. It'll be good for the betting show. You know, there'll be a couple of bets over there. But yeah, to be honest, mate, it's all about the big old world of MMA, UFC 282.
Got me passport ready, lad.
Got me our BT subscription ready, lad.
Yeah,
I am incredibly jealous.
Yeah, I'm buzzing to be out there. A bit of a bucket list thing. I mean, I know you went to see. You were there for Fury and Wilder.
Mate, seeing the UFC for me, you are living. There's only one place I'd rather watch it more, and that's Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
That's the only place I'd rather watch the UFC more. But T-Mobile Arena, which is, you know, I'm told one of the best arenas to watch sport in, full stop.
Yeah.
You know, the atmosphere that's going to build around there, things that have happened, people that are on the card, things that have, you know, yet to happen, but I'm sure will in the coming days. Just going to be a boss week, despite a couple of fights falling off, which shows you the strength of the card.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited. Big shout out to Paddy as well. Who sorted the tickets, like, absolutely.
Oh, all right, your mate Paddy.
Well, no, but I just think he's fucking big.
Yeah, right, want to come me fight, bro? That's how it went down.
It's not about name drop, is it? To be fair, come on, at least give me that. Come on.
It's good. The fact you took my younger, less pretty, more annoying brother.
Hey, I asked you first, lad.
But to be fair, he's prettier than me, which is a misconception.
So I'm going to be in Vegas. You're going to be doing all the studying, sending it to me on the betting show, and I want to.
We've had last week actually. We got a couple of winners in. We've been up and down. We had a couple of winners, couple of losers. There's not been a big week for about 4 or 5 weeks. Telling you now, this week, mate, we are taking it to the house.
Well, I need to pay for Vegas, so please do.
Just send it over, lad. Bank of Big Jord. When you come home, I'll just meet you in Boole and go, we are, fella. Enjoy.
Before we actually go on to the card itself, Paddy's been in the news as he seems to be every day now. First about Jake Paul and sparring. Now it's about I can never say
Ariel Helwani.
I've seen what Paddy said with Dana on his podcast, and I see where he's coming from. Do you know what I mean, Paddy? I kind of, but I just don't think that there's much respect put on Ariel's name for whatever reason.
No, it's Ariel Helwani, someone who's been around since 2006. Was covering MMA before it was cool. Done crazy stuff like being, pretty much a pioneer of MMA journalism. I would say people like him, people don't like him, but that is what it is. Do you know what I mean? That's life ultimately. But I agreed with what Paddy said because look, Paddy's got a manager, a very good manager, who has now got a commodity that's worth a lot of money. So as Paddy signs these sponsorship deals and continues to do what he does in the octagon for however long that lasts, he does deserve to get paid. But there's two ways to do that. Sitting on a podcast with someone who historically doesn't like Ariel Helwani comes across wrong to me because it doesn't feel so genuine. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying what Paddy said, the actual words Paddy said in terms of my manager deals with it, he asked for a fee, or that's fine. That's ultimately business. He is a walking business, but you can't sit on. It's like me and you hating somebody, or you in particular, and then me just throwing loads of stuff to make you go yeah, and then you are ultimately my boss who's gonna bump my contract up a little bit.
Yeah. No, totally. And you can even see Dana's best podcast ever.
Yeah.
At the end of it.
So but I think it's the genuineness of it. Is it genuine or was it? Or was it a brown-nosed moment? And I don't believe it was, because I don't think Paddy's that way inclined. I genuinely don't.
No, I don't think it was I think it was maybe a chance for Paddy and Dana to get some common ground. Maybe I don't know what you'd call it. I wouldn't say it was brown-nosing, but I get where Paddy's coming from. I don't know enough about Ariel to kind of. Yeah, you can see this there's no respect on his name, or maybe not as much.
No, it's almost a cool thing to dislike him, but his show does crazy numbers. He's worked on numerous platforms. He got banned from the UFC because Dana didn't like his line of questioning, essentially, and he's still managed to build an incredibly big platform covering MMA and UFC in particular. He shines lights on things that the journalists don't like to do, whether you like that or not. That's his job, but. When you look at, I don't know if you've seen it, but Ariel's actually replied with I think it was 8 separate videos in a thread on Twitter. And, I'm sure Paddy's going to reply in Media Day. We're filming this before we see him in Media Day. But, Paddy ultimately reached out to Ariel and said, I'm in New York this time. Would we be able to do an interview? Which is a really good thing to do. As I said, he's a brilliant businessman, Paddy. He's built something really good. But then because it gets sour when managers come involved, I think it's just, it's a crossed wires situation. But I really think it was unnecessary. I would have preferred Paddy to not say it, because he's got enough people who want to drag him down already. Enough people who want to see him. There's a lot of people who want to watch Paddy's UFC career crash and burn, mate. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying this is going to crash and burn his career by any stretch of the imagination, but it allows people to call him things. It allows negativity on the eve of what is his biggest moments.
Yeah. Coming on to his biggest moments, is there any chance at all for Jared, or is this just Paddy show?
I don't think so. Just looking at it, Jared Gordon's a solid fighter. Actually, beat Chris Fishgold, who once upon a time fought out of Paddy's gym, and him and Paddy were good mates over in Cage Warriors. So there'll be a bit of homework on him from that gym. But stylistically, you know, he's a solid jiu-jitsu player. But so is Paddy. I think Paddy can, you know, unless you put him in with the freaks, he's going to be able to at least match anyone on the mat. And Jared Gordon's had one stoppage, I think, in a long UFC career. So, you know, I know people want to see Paddy in with a puncher like Eto'o, who's on the card. But there's no real threat of Paddy getting knocked out here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it ultimately comes down to how Paddy decides to play it. Does he go on the mat and, you know, prove that he's a better jiu-jitsu player, or does he stand up and just have no respect for Jared Gordon's power and walk him down? I would probably suspect maybe the latter, but you know, Jared Gordon's a fella who was a heroin addict, mate, not long ago. Like, he's been through some dark shit, you know. Like, when you look into his career, like, and his life, he's been in a bad way. Him and Paddy have got a lot of common ground in terms of, you know, causes that they're fighting for and stuff. So I think there'll be a lot of mutual respect. He already has been in, you know, the fight week preliminaries. But as a fighter, I just don't see a way for... When you assess a fight, you have to look at path to victory, don't you? I don't really... When you look at Paddy, you go... He's probably more powerful. His boxing's improving. You know, he's got a couple of submissions already in the UFC. He could probably do that. And then you go with Jared Gordon. You're like, the only way I see him winning is if him and Paddy get tangled up on the floor and he manages to latch onto Paddy's neck, or, you know, Paddy falls into like some sort of armbar or something, which, you know, can happen. I don't think Paddy will underestimate him in any, you know, way, shape or form. But I think it's a nice platform for Paddy to shine. Like,
the other one who's potentially, you know, Paddy's nemesis is Eto'o. Isn't he fighting a guy?
Bryce Mitchell. Mad.
He's unbeaten, isn't he?
Yeah, but he's he's down officially as 15-1, but one of them was on the Contender Series, which you can't count. He lives on a mad ranch in the middle of Arkansas. You know, there's campaign for camo shorts. Makes crazy rap videos, despite being, you know, not that way inclined. He can't rap to save his life, but he makes them anyway. But, you know, he's a fighter who's won, you know, fights by submission, you know, using things like twisters, which are like, I think there's been like 3 in UFC history. Do you know what I mean? And he's pulled off a couple of them. And yeah, he's just running into Eto'o, who, you know, as we well know, doesn't like Paddy. Paddy doesn't like him, but he's a beast, mate. He's a monster. He can grapple, and then if you can't grapple him, he can put you straight to sleep, like we watched in. You know, he took a head kick from Jai Herbert, who's about a stone heavier than him, rided it out. Next round, puts him fast asleep. You know, Jai Herbert's not some mug, like, solid fighter. And I just think Eto'o is just, he's at the forefront of this, like, Georgian assault on the UFC. And, you know, I think he's got all eyes on Paddy because, you know, if he gets older, Paddy, it's a chance for him to become... It's a chance for him to become the star. But he's actually fighting at featherweight this weekend. He fights between featherweight and lightweight, which is, again, testament to how fucking nuts he is. But, yeah, I mean, that's the one. I'd be really excited to see Paddy. I'd be really excited to see Darren Till. There's a couple of fighters on the prelims who I'm excited to see. But, you know, watching Eto'o versus Bryce Mitchell is going to be, you know, something special live. Like.
On Tilly is the underdog against the Duplessis, is it?
Dricus Duplessis, yeah.
He's the underdog going into the fight. Obviously, he's not fought since it was, 2 years
Derek
ago?
Brunson, yeah. It's a while ago, yeah. But Till gets a hard time, mate, and he brings it on himself. You know, he's done certain things outside of the octagon which allow people to shoot him down, a bit like what I was touching on with Paddy there. But, like, when you look at some of the wins he's had, or, you know, he got a split decision with Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker's one of the best middleweights to ever live. Do you know what I mean?
You know, seemed to be really quick, didn't it? Yeah. And it's kind of...
Well, he was taken out like Donald Cerrone when, you know, Cerrone was not the Cerrone that fought McGregor, you know, and then he got thrown in because he was riding this little thing what Paddy's riding at the moment, where they were like, you know, get him a title shot because he can carry the division. Got put in a dash choke to Tyron Woodley, who, despite what he's doing now, at that time, Tyron Woodley was, you know, rightly on his way to becoming maybe the greatest welterweight of all time. You know, comes back, beats Kelvin Gastelum in a war. You know, gets a split decision loss to Robert Whittaker, which, you know, there's nothing to be ashamed of in that. Robert Whittaker, if Adesanya, put it this way, if Pereira makes a defence against Robert Whittaker will beat him. And, you know, and then obviously he goes into that Derek Brunson fight unfit, out of shape, unmotivated, and with a blown knee and gets tapped out against a Division 1 wrestler. So the bit where Darren deserves a bit of stick is that he's fucked about a little bit and, you know, got involved in the life and, you know, probably got loads of invitations and enjoyed himself a little bit and all that stuff. But when you look at the level he's competing at, that's the elite of the UFC. He's not fighting people who are about to get cut or, you know, who's just going to walk onto his right hand. And then, you know, now he's fighting a fella who's, you know, I think he's ranked a couple of spots below him and is undefeated in the UFC. So Darren's had no little legs up like at all. And, you know, I think if he's got it all back together this weekend, I genuinely think he could steal the show.
The only other one, I mean, I'm sure there'll be a few more that you might touch upon, but the only other one for me was the Jan Blachowicz against
Ankalaev, yeah.
Ankalaev. Again, Ankalaev, the 1-3 favourite looked like, but Jan, I was a fan of Jan. Watched the vlogs and stuff. He seems like a cool guy, but again, it looks like Ankalaev's just gonna throw him about.
Well, he's the former champion, like, and he's, you know, Polish power. You've got to respect him. But, you know, obviously beat Israel Adesanya when he decided to go up. He's not a fighter who's, you know, past his best. This was a great fight on the undercard. Obviously, you know, the main event fell off with Glover Teixeira and Yuri Prochazka. So this is a good fight. Like 1-3, sure, for Ankalaev. I think Ankalaev will be the champion. I think he'll shine. But, you know, Jan Blachowicz, you don't just look at. He's no walk over him. Like, he's not just going to come in and you know, give Ankalaev all this like Dagestani respect and be like, you know, I'm just going to stand here, let you take me down and beat me up. He's just not going to do that. He's not built that way. So he's it's going to be a really good fight. And, you know, I know some people are calling Paddy the people's main event, and Paddy said people are going to get off once I fight and all that. I get it, but, you know, for someone who loves mixed martial arts, it's a really, really good fight.
I ain't bailing to the fucking end, lad. I paid enough money for those fucking tickets. I'm staying.
You and Dana. Dana's like, come on and leave, please. No. Here's a bottle of Harlowhead. Just leave.
Yeah. And anything else on the UFC card this weekend that you're excited?
No, there's a couple of bets on the undercard, on the prelims, the early prelims that I'll do on the betting show, but, you know, local interest. I think, obviously, we've covered it. It'd be good to see how Paddy makes weight, Darren makes weight, all that stuff. Obviously, it'll be on Friday, but, yeah, big opportunity for the Brits. Like, talking of opportunities, mate, it's coming back, isn't it? Coming back to London.
Seeing that, yeah. What date is it in London?
March the 18th.
Do you think that's when Leon will next fight then?
Yeah, 286 in March. It's in the O2 Arena. Obviously, be that defence against Usman. I'm a bit disappointed they didn't do it. They didn't do a stadium. I'm not going to lie. It's a stadium where they fight, but it's the first pay-per-view card coming to the UK since 2016. Okay. So, like, you know, it's going to be a stacked card. There's some sick fights on. Tickets are going to go in about 3.5 seconds. You know, it'll be interesting to see whether Paddy's on there, but, you know, Molly certainly will be on there. I imagine Till might be. Hopefully Tom Aspinall's back. Yeah. But then I think you're looking at the likes of, you know, Chimaev maybe being on there, Masvidal maybe being on there. Some big names, you know what I mean? Big pay-per-view card in London. So, although I'm a bit disappointed it's on the stadium, it's still a big moment. And a week after Callum Smith headlines Liverpool, so March is looking quite big, because I think the 18th is the Saturday after Cheltenham Festival finishes.
Stop it.
So you're going Callum Smith at the Echo, Tuesday to Friday, Cheltenham, Saturday UFC.
That's what we're doing then, isn't it?
Heavy.
That's what we're doing.
Might be just what we're doing. That. But yeah, brilliant. You know, going to be a brilliant card. Really excited to see it get announced.
Mate, one thing I'd say, those who are not minge bags and pay us £1 a week to be on Patreon and get your extra episode on a Wednesday, you can also ask us questions. And one of the questions was from John McLeish. Says, Joe Selkirk was always mentioned as being one of the most talented boxers to come out of the Rotunda. What sportsman, past or present, in your opinion, never fulfilled their potential due to injuries or bad luck?
Mate, there's so many, isn't there? You know, boxing locally, you'd have to say Joe Selkirk. You know, I heard all the stories myself, actually watching fight 2015 in the MEN on the undercard of Billy Joe Saunders versus Andy Lee. You know, just an unbelievably talented lad. Didn't have, obviously, the hands to be able to punch in a glove, but, you know, incredibly talented. You had Tom Stalker, obviously, he was captain of Team GB with Joshua and stuff. Didn't quite work for him in the boxing world either. But I think you're going to have to say, like, Dele Alli, aren't you? at the top level, like.
I was going to say Jose Baxter. We've obviously had him on the podcast. He's one from, by all accounts, was just like unbelievable.
Yeah, it's a great shout. I think Jose actually put something on Instagram the other day saying like when 2009 they put like potential players out, and I think he was second to Messi, which is stupid, isn't it?
Crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
He's
always got to mention.
Yeah, good lad as well.
Yeah.
Any more little crews?
No, we done them all last week.
Yeah.
Covered them all last week.
I enjoyed this, lad. The StreamYards are a bit tough. I know most podcasts do it via StreamYard and you have the little mic setups and all that stuff, and I get it, but I like being in your presence, lad.
Same, lad.
Hopefully when you're back from Vegas and, I'm not dying of death, we'll be able to sit in the studio and talk about the Paddy, Till, and UFC coming to London. No,
we will, lad. And sorry for those who prefer us being in the studio that it's on this, but again, we'll be back to normal next week. Well, thanks for your time, lad. Hope you
Cheers, mate.
Soon. Hope everyone has a belter weekend. Hope England do the business and get us into the semi-final. Yeah, and have a boss weekend, everyone. Cheers.